Joining me now, David Henderson, civil rights lawyer and former prosecutor. He's a CNBC contributor. And Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Michigan and an MSNBC legal analyst, who just last week published a model prosecution memo listing possible charges for Donald Trump, including some that are also in this committee filing. So, Barb, let me start with you. What did you make of that 200-plus page filing yesterday? Did it look familiar to you?
It did. I don't know that they were copying my work, but I think to any prosecutor who has a trained eye looking at this evidence as it's starting to come into focus would see the same thing. It's as if, a person who's got a little bit of understanding of the night sky were to walk out tonight. To most of us, we'd be able to spot the Big Dipper, right? In the same way, I think most prosecutors who look at this evidence would see what I saw, which is a conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding and a conspiracy to defraud the United States. And so all these threads that the committee has been pulling together are coming into focus. The biggest hangup has always been whether there is proof that Donald Trump knew that what he was saying was a lie. And they lay out, as I did in my memo, all of the public information that's already out there. And it's really overwhelming to show that he absolutely knew that there was no fraud in the election. And in fact, there is, in the words of one judge, not a scintilla of evidence that there was fraud. And so, the standard for this committee is just showing a good faith showing that there may have been a commission of a crime. It's much lower than actually charging someone, but it's absolutely sufficient to start an investigation at the Justice Department to see if they can develop proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
David, what's your top line reaction to this filing? How big a deal is it?
Oh, Mehdi, I think it's a huge deal to say that a former president of the United States is guilty, or at least there's evidence suggesting he committed at least 3 different crimes: obstruction, conspiracy, and fraud. Also with the detail that they laid it out in. Like you said, it's 221 pages. The first 68 pages really lay out the case. And here's what you have to remember is that they are still in the information gathering phase. Like, this filing relates to trying to get additional documents from Easton that concern January 4th through 7th. They've also enforced their subpoena against Guilfoyle, seeking to question her. So they've questioned 550 people so far, but they've still got a ways to go to gather additional information. So as strong as the case is now, it's only going to get stronger as this investigation continues.
And David, let me ask you this. There's an argument that Garland, as Attorney General, should stay above the fray and not be talking specifically about Donald Trump. And that's what's done in normal times. I would argue these are not normal times. You have a rolling coup promoted by a former president from Florida. Shouldn't the Attorney General be out there talking about this threat to democracy from the former president?
Mehdi, I think he should. But here's the thing. Everybody has something to say about how you should try a case when they don't have to actually go inside the courtroom and try the case. And if you've seen anything from Garland, it's that he's extremely cautious. So with this level of legal work, I expect he's going to do the same thing I'm doing, and that is read the briefing, anticipate what's coming down the pipeline, and wait for the committee to finish and file a full report before he takes action. Normally, I would like to see more aggression at this phase, but given how much Donald Trump has slipped through the cracks thus far in legal proceedings, I can't say caution is unwarranted here.
Bob, some DOJ watchers have suggested that plenty could be going on behind the scenes at the Justice Department, that they could be building a robust case against Trump. That's what you hear when people like me criticize Garland. But it's been 13 months since the insurrection. Can we really accept that argument? Can we just take blind faith that there must be something going on behind the scenes?
Yes, I think that an investigation like this is likely to take much longer than 13 months, many months, if not years, to pull together a case like this, because although we see in this filing that was filed yesterday that there's certainly an awful lot of evidence here that Donald Trump committed a crime, to be able to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt requires pulling people into the grand jury, locking them into their testimony, finding corroborating documents in the form of emails, text messages, bank records, and other kinds of things. And it takes a fair amount of time. But I do think it is quite possible that they are working their way up in that investigation. Gathering those documents can be done quite silently in a way that would not leak out so that people know what's going on. I also think that there was a really interesting development yesterday that suggests there is more than meets the eye when we had a guilty plea by one of the Oath Keepers to seditious conspiracy and a cooperation agreement. We know that this particular Oath Keeper was with Roger Stone on January 6th. And so as Merrick Garland has said, they do intend to explore everyone at every level who may have been involved in the January 6th insurrection, whether they were at the Capitol or not, and that they build cases by starting at the smaller cases and build as they go. And this could be an example of the kind of cooperation that they use to build a bigger case. And so I am not convinced that they are asleep at the switch. I like to think that they're working hard, you know, like a duck paddles, all calm on top and paddling like mad beneath the surface.
I hope you're right. David, the January 6th committee is also moving closer to the Trump family, issuing a subpoena to a possible future daughter-in-law to Donald Trump. I believe we have some video of her.
The best is yet to come.
The eloquence of Kimberly Guilfoyle there. On a more serious note, she was integral in fundraising for the rally that preceded the riot and was famously seen dancing in a backstage area on 1/6. What is your reaction to this latest subpoena?
You know, my reaction, Mehdi, is pretty simple. You can run, but you can't hide. She was supposed to show up and talk before, and she didn't. Her argument was, well, I didn't know that members of the committee might be present. The response was, yes, she did. And since she didn't show up, here's a subpoena. Again, you can run, but you can't hide. We're seeing that consistently in terms of questioning family members and getting them to show up at depositions, to provide testimony, to produce documents. I think it's just a matter of time, and I think they've about ducked and dodged as long as they can.
Indeed. I'm just going to say to my producers right now, if they're listening, let's not play any more footage of Guilfoyle dancing, or I won't be able to sleep tonight. Bob, the main point of this filing was actually to talk about John Eastman, and includes an email from Eastman to Pence aide Greg Jacob, sent hours after the mob finally left the Capitol, insisting again that Pence delay the counting of the electoral votes. That's after the violence. Where do you expect courts to come down on this question of attorney-client privilege for John Eastman?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what's likely to happen here, Mehdi, is that they will say that the attorney-client privilege does not apply because there was no attorney-client relationship or that it was waived. I think they're not going to get to the crime fraud question. If they do, if they get to that question, they will look in camera and then make a decision as to whether these documents get turned over. But my best guess is they don't need to get that far. This is like a backup argument to the first one, which is there was never an attorney-client relationship here at all. They were co-conspirators. They weren't. He wasn't seeking legal advice from John Eastman. They were plotting a coup. And so I don't know that we're going to get an answer to that. But I do think it's significant what you pointed out, that even after the attack, Eastman is still pushing Pence to try to delay and stall things. And so this is, it is, but it demonstrates how deep the conspiracy goes. And even after they knew the kind of harm that it was having, they still persisted in trying to seize power. So I think it's an important piece of evidence.
We'll have to leave it there. David Henderson and Barbara McQuade, thank you so much for your analysis. Much appreciated. Hi, I'm Mehdi Hasan. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more of The Mehdi Hasan Show by clicking on any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thank you for watching.